So we have understood why we need to use the MongoDB, as it is some document-oriented database, and it is having some peculiar formats which are different from the RDBMS software. And yes, so there are some differences between the MongoDB and relational databases. If you see the relational databases, if you want to pull out the data from different tables, like this is the first table, second, third, fourth, and that way we have six number of tables. If your information is segregated across all these tables and using one single query, if you want to pull out the entire information related to a particular product, or for that can be any company information, or that can be any personal information. So we need to have some joins which are available as part of the SQL commands. Okay, so as we have discussed in the previous session, if the number of tables you are joining are more, the complexity is going to be incremented by manifold. So four tables are there, four times the complexity will be there. Six tables are there, six times the complexity of the query generation as well as the result processing. So in that way, they have some limited way of processing the things when we see the relational database software. But whereas if you see the MongoDB JSON formats, this is a single object. So here we are starting with that object, and this is the end of the object here. And we can see there is a starting primary key, that is underscore ID. This is given with some object ID 54 something like that. And in that, one more object is available. So this is one more object, and some different properties are available. Similarly, this is an array, and this array is having again internal object of this particular object, and this internal object is again having one array, and again having some multiple uh, objects. Okay, so in that way, everything is actually, we can fit into one particular object, that is the root object. Okay, so all the data for submission resides in single document, and this fits with the way we use the submissions in our app. So that means normally you want to take X, Y, Z, whatever the data that is given by the user, and everything you want to store in a single object, and that is going to have whatever the nearly 90 to 100% of the data related to that particular feature. Okay, so if it is a user details, then all the 100% details related with the address, email ID, the personal details, the professional experience, the educational qualification, everything we can have in a single JSON object. So this is how the MongoDB JSON documents are going to store the data when you compare with the RDBMS software. So in the RDBMS software, all the data is completely segregated. Okay, so they are segregated into different tables, whereas in the MongoDB, all these information you can have in a single JSON object, and in that single object you can have internal multiple objects. They can be arrays, they can be simple objects, there can be some properties. Okay, so this is a property, this is an object here, and similarly this is an array. So in that way we can have different implementations existing all together in the given MongoDB JSON document. Then advantages of the MongoDB over RDBMS. Any relational database has a typical schema design that shows number of tables and relationship between these tables. Okay, the RDBMS is naturally is having some kind of relationships that are existing between multiple tables, while in the MongoDB there is no concept as such. It is called as relationship. So there is no relationship at all, because we need not maintain any relationship, because all are residing in a single object. So thereby it is related to this, it is related to that. So those mappings we do not require. Then schemaless. MongoDB is a document database in which one collection holds different documents. Number of fields, content, and size of the document can differ from one document to another. So it is not like that if you are having some common functionality. Suppose this is the products information. The products information for a particular object may be looking like this, and for the second object, it may completely differ from this particular previous object. Okay, so in that there may not be the media sets. Okay, so in that there may not be the internal objects or internal arrays, so they can be completely missed out. So all these are allowed because as such we do not tying up the data with the proper schema mapping. So that's why in any way if you want for your particular feature, it is completely allowed. So that's why the number of fields, content, size of the document varies uh, very differently from one document to the another document having the same data formats. Okay, so if it is a person data, the person data for the first person may be having some 200 fields, but whereas for the second person it may be having some 100 fields. So in that way we can have different implementations for the schema layers in the MongoDB database. Then structure of a single object is clear. Okay, so if you see this MongoDB object as such, overall interpretation of this particular object is given with a single object. Okay, what is this? What is the ID? What is the email ID? What is the customer ID, account ID? All these are available in this itself. So we don't have to look up somewhere else or anywhere else. We don't have to look up for the things. So everything is residing in a single object. So that's why the structure is very much clear for any given data that you want to save in the MongoDB. And no complex joins are there. Even though in the RDBMS joins feature is very useful, if you want to combine more than 5 tables or more than some 7 tables, it will be very complicated to have the queries created and as well as performance you are giving for your database. So it is highly difficult. So that's why the joins feature is not at all available in the MongoDB. Everything is available in a single MongoDB document. So that's why you don't have to join the things and everything is available under a single roof. Deep queryability. MongoDB supports dynamic queries on documents using a document-based query language that nearly as powerful as SQL. Okay, so we can create the deep queries using the MongoDB. And what I mean by the deep query means you can go down to this particular object and you can accordingly fetch some data which you require accordingly. So in that way, you can have the deep query ability that is available. And then it is as powerful as the SQL is offering for the performance. Okay. Then tuning, we can also do the tuning in the MongoDB. Easier to scale out. It is very easy to scale out the things because if you want to work for a very big project, the number of users are going to be very high. Then scalability is the first issue that you are going to have. And MongoDB is is meant for scalability. So you can have the good performance even though you are having some large number of customers for your applications. Then conversion mapping of application objects to database objects not needed. Okay, so from mapping or doing the conversion from one feature to the another feature, basically we sometimes need to have that in RDBMS. These things do not require in the MongoDB. It uses internal memory for storing the working set, enabling faster access of the data. So it uses the internal memory for storing the whatever the documents that you are going to create, and thereby by using some IDs, okay, so it can quickly fetch the data without any indexing, without any. We can keep the indexing, but it will not be looking for some extra amount of time, which normally RDBMS software takes. Then a comparison is given for SQL terms and related MongoDB terms. Okay, so what is a database in SQL? That means in the RDBMS is same as the term we can see in the MongoDB. So either you call the database in SQL or MongoDB, they are same. But when you are coming to the table, we say that as a table, but generally in the MongoDB, it is considered as a collection. So the table is nothing but the collection. Similarly, the row is nothing but your document. So that means this is a document. That means this is one single row in terms of the RDBMS. Okay. So in that way, the row is a document, column is a field. So what are the fields? So this customer ID, we can see this customer ID is a field, form ID is a field. Similarly, the media set ID is a field, submitted is a field. So all these are the fields, and these fields are nothing but the columns in your SQL definition. Then index is same. The index is called as index only, both in SQL and MongoDB. Table joins we require in SQL, but there is no requirement of the joining because the documents are already embedded in a given object and they are already linked with one another. Okay, so they are already one another linked with one another, means one object is containing one internal object. That internal object may be containing couple of internal objects. In that way, it is already linked up data, and the embedded document nature is the solution for the joins which we have otherwise in SQL terminology. Then primary keys, you need to put up the primary keys, but there is a unique ID that is called as underscore ID. This underscore ID is nothing but your primary key, and that is by default created by the MongoDB whenever you are going to insert one object into the database. So that's why we can have this primary keys. Then aggregation. The aggregation is grouped by So this aggregation we have both in SQL and MongoDB. Then embedded documents are there. This embedded documents, it is something which is given in reverse way actually. Then reference and foreign keys. Foreign keys are there in the MongoDB. Then we have the references also. So in that way, we got this SQL as well as MongoDB concepts, which are anyway, they are nothing but the storing mechanisms. In either format, you are going to store the data only. Okay. So in either way, you are going to store the database documents in these formats, but one is having some kind of advantage over the other. Okay. But when we see the MongoDB, it is offered with the higher scalability and much flexibility, and it is schemaless, and it is high performance oriented. So these are the natural concepts that are given in association with the MongoDB. Then the basics. A MongoDB instance may have 0 or more databases. You can see a MongoDB instance may or may not be having databases at all, and the database may or may not have 0 or more collections. That means it may not have collections also. Still, we can create a database instance. Similarly, a collection may not have 0 or more documents. Collection is nothing but the table. Okay, so the table may or may not have the collection means the table may not have zero document or more than one document. Similarly, the document is containing 1 or 0 fields. Okay, it can completely given with this JSON format also. So still it is a document, but it do not have any fields associated with that document. Then MongoDB indexes function much like their RDBMS counterparts. So MongoDB indexes the function like we have seen with the RDBMS counterpart. So indexing is naturally applicable on the primary key, that is underscore ID. Okay, so this underscore ID is a primary key by default going to be created by the MongoDB. But in the MongoDB, you can put up more number of indexes as per your requirement. So it is completely applicable if you are indexing every part of your field in a given document. So that is completely allowed. Then characteristics. The MongoDB is actually a document-oriented data format, like we have seen in the initial session. Like there are some graph-based applications, there are some table-based applications, some key value page, then some document-oriented format. So naturally, the MongoDB is normally a document-oriented format. So objects map to the programming language types. So there are these particular JSON objects. We can easily convert them into the respective programming language types. Okay, because ultimately the JSON is also one kind of JavaScript object notation. So naturally, it is allowed to do the conversions in an easier way. And embedded documents and arrays reduce need for joins. Okay, so we don't have to use the joins in the MongoDB. No joins and no multi-document transactions are there. So thereby we are actually increasing the performance. So whenever you are pulling out the data from couple of tables in the RDBMS, you are actually processing very heavily on the database server, because it has to pull out from the first table as well as pull out the information which is as per the selected query. So only some selected criteria applicable rows you are going to fetch, and accordingly they are going to be combined, and accordingly a new view is going to be created, and that is going to be your result set. So in that way, some processing penalty will be there in RDBMS, whereas as there are no joins in MongoDB, so there is no performance penalty as such when you are pulling out the data from the MongoDB. Then high performance, no joins, embedding makes reads and writes very fast. Okay, if you are writing the data into 6 different tables, because you have pulled out the data from 6 different tables, so similarly you want to write the data into those respective tables also, it makes the reading and writing capability somewhat slower. And indexes, including indexing of the keys embedded, indexes including indexes of the keys, which is also available in that given JSON document. So naturally the indexing is already embedded, so thereby you don't have to set up a separate index as we do with the normal RDBMS software. Not only that, high availability is going to be given by the MongoDB servers. We can create the replicated servers with automatic failover features. Okay, so you can replicate the database servers across different in the distributed environment. So thereby you are providing high availability whenever there is any node is getting failed, database node is getting failed, the alternative node is going to be simultaneously uploaded without any further delay. So the automatic failover mechanism is already there. So thereby it is offering some high availability for your customers. Then easy scalability. Auto sharding is there. That means data partitioning across different servers. Okay. So the replication is a different thing. Partition is a different thing. Partitioning means the data is actually stored in chunks in different servers. So even though one person data, the person's collection may be distributed across 4 to 5 database servers, MongoDB database servers. So that is what we call as partitioning. So automatic sharding feature, that is called as this sharding feature, that is automatically supported by the MongoDB, and you need to manage the things according to your requirements. Then eventually consistent reads distributed over replicated servers. So your reads are also going to be replicated along with these distributed servers. Okay, so you don't have to read from a single server, as you are redirecting that reads to 4 or 5 different servers. Naturally the performance of the servers are also going to be incremented. Okay, so in that way it is offering the scalability in this way. So the sharding, the replication, so all these are for the high scalability of your MongoDB database servers. The MongoDB focusing on four main things. First one is the flexibility, and second one is the power, and third one is speed, and fourth one is easy of use. So we will see how they are actually uh, these are actually used in the MongoDB. First one is the flexibility. Flexibility means the data is stored in the JSON documents. So this data which is stored in the JSON formats are generally called as decent document. Okay, so this is nothing but a binary JSON. So that's why it is called as decent document. So it is very similar to JSON. Okay, and then it is completely schemaless. That's why it is offering the flexibility. At one time, in the initial days of your project development, you can have some simple uh, schema for your database, and later on, after some 6 months and 1 year of development, the schema may get highly complicated. Still, your original database, you don't have to change without any issues. It will work as it is. But in the case of the RDBMS, you have to first of all change your schema whenever you are going to include further fields, further columns, further tables in your database. So this schemaless offers the high flexibility in the MongoDB. Then maps to the native programming languages. So the native programming languages already having some data types which are associated, like for the Boolean, string, integer. So all these are parallelly recognized with this decent document. So it's somewhat easier to manipulate the things from the programming language, because it can easily map the things with the respect to decent document. So that's why we again get the flexibility. ER diagrams are not the governing the design. So you don't have to create any ER diagrams in the MongoDB. So that's why ER diagram means you are not planning at all. You are not at all planning for your database. As things go, you are going to include or reduce the things, and everything is acceptable because it is schemaless. Then second one is power. So power means it supports secondary indexes. Okay, so not only the primary indexing that we are naturally having, we can have some secondary indexing also that can be applicable, and we can use some dynamic queries. Sorting can be applicable, updations can be done, and aggregations can also be there. Upsets. Upset means this is a new term when you compare with the RDBMS. If the document is existing, then it will update. If the document is not existing, it will insert. So that is called as upset. So it is in place of the insert plus update. So both the terms we have taken for combining so that it is giving rise to some upsets. Okay. So if it is available, then so this is up, this is set. So if it is available, then it will update. If it is not available, simply it will create a new document. So upsets are possible, but whereas in the normal SQL, this RDBMS SQL operations, upsets are not allowed. Speed and scaling of the feature is also there naturally for the MongoDB. Related data kept together in documents, as we have seen in the JSON example. All the information is entirely available as a single document. So that's why your fetching of the data will not be a major headache, because you don't have to pull out from 6 to 7 tables or some 10 to 15 tables. All the information is available under a single table. And that's why the speed is naturally is getting increased. Then no need for joining, auto sharding, and we can increase the capacity with no downtime. Okay, so we can increase the capacity because the horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, all these are available. So thereby, if you are having some good number of users connected in a couple of days, you can simply scale up the things without restarting the servers and without doing much effort from your side as a database administrator. So that's why speed is also a major factor in the MongoDB. Then ease of use, very easy to install, configure, maintain, and use. Okay, so this is very, very easy to install, configure, maintain. And we are going to see in the demonstrations. And then very few configuration options we require as such. Works right out of the box. As you have created the database, it is ready to serve. Okay, so it will come within a couple of commands. You can create your database, and then thereafter it is ready to serve. So in that way, it is very fast to create and launch up the things also. No need for fine tuning obscure database configurations. Okay, so it is simplifying the things. So thereby we are getting the easy and flexibility for usability factors as far as the database programmers are concerned. So those are the main features like this MongoDB is focusing. First one is the flexibility, how flexibly we can create the things that is defined here. Then the power is inbuilt actually. Okay, so the dynamic queries, updations, upsets, all these are actually the power driven model that we are having. Then speeding and scalability is also auto supported in the form of sharding and replication. Then the easy of use is also there. So you don't have to create some complex settings so that to launch up the things. Anybody can easily understand the MongoDB, even though he's not a normal SQL developer. They can simply understand the things within a couple of days. So that's why these four features are very crucial as far as the MongoDB is concerned. Then we will come to know the key features of the MongoDB. The key features, like it is having some different concepts as such when you compare with the SQL kind of implementation. First one is BSON format. BSON is nothing but the binary JSON format that we are having. Then MongoDB ad hoc queries, MongoDB indexing, MongoDB replica set, and MongoDB sharding. So we will see one by one. So we will see all these one by one. So what is this BSON format? One of these greatest features of the MongoDB is it's like JSON-like storage format. Okay, so it is almost similar to the JSON, but the binary data is also supported. So that's why it is called as BSON. Okay, so it's almost entirely similar. 99 point, it's almost 100% JSON only actually, but binary things are also actually supported. That means you can store the image formats. Okay, so that means you can convert them into binary and accordingly you can store into the BSON. Then BSON format is a binary encoded serialization of the JSON documents, and it is designed to be more efficient in size and speed, allowing the MongoDB read and write throughputs very high. Okay, so it is very easy to read and write operations using this BSON formats. Like JSON, BSON documents are a simple data structure representation of objects and arrays in a key value format. Okay, so everything is working like a key value format. So the key can be an object, a key can be an array, a key can be a simple field. Okay, so they can be arrays, they can be objects, as well as they can be a simple field. So all these are supported. Then the BSON format enables MongoDB to internally index and map the document properties and even nested documents, allowing it to scan this collection efficiently. So naturally, indexing is there, and as you are going to create the index further on your required BSON document, it is going to scan the entire collection efficiently, and thereby you are going to have very good results when you are searching. So the indexing is we require for faster searches and quicker selection procedures. So that's why the index is also supported by default. Not only the primary key indexing, you can provide your own custom field indexing also on the BSON formats. Then big advantage of the BSON format is the primary key, which is given with __ ID. Okay, so this __ ID field value will usually be a unique identifier type named object ID. So this is by default created. You are not going to create whenever you are inserting this data. Okay, automatically after insertion by you, it is going to be given back. The MongoDB is going to be given back by this primary key created by itself, and it is completely unique. There is no chance that you are having this object ID which is same as all the MongoDB instances running across the internet. Okay, so you don't find common object ID. So that's why it is very, very unique. It cannot be duplicated across all the instances if you take whichever running along in the industry in the entire world. Okay, so that is either generated by the application driver or by the MongoDB service. It is automatically going to be created by the MongoDB whenever you are going to insert for the first time. Then second one is, so this is the BSEN format actually. So this underscore underscore ID is naturally is going to be applied by the MongoDB service. So we don't have to bother about this. Every document is assigned with this underscore underscore ID, and every document in that way can be uniquely identified with this object ID. Okay. Then MongoDB ad hoc queries. Supporting ad hoc queries means that the database will respond to the dynamically structured queries out of the box without the need to redefine each query. So suppose we have a statement in the SQL statement like this. Okay, so there is a table which is called as posts, and where you want to fetch the data where title is matching with this something Mongo like this. Okay, so the statement is something bigger in SQL statement, whereas you can see the same query in MongoDB. The simple statement is asking the database. Okay, so db.post. So this is the table that you are interested to find out the information, and you are going to simply provide the criteria. So this is the criteria that you are going to apply. So title slash Mongo. So wherever it is applicable, all the results are going to be fetched into your result. So replicating this query in MongoDB will be as follows. So it is very simpler to understand, as well as it is unique also in implementation. Then third one is MongoDB indexing. To speed up the scan, the database engine can use a predefined index which maps document fields and can tell the engine which documents are compatible with this query statement. So predefined index means underscore underscore ID is the primary key naturally. So that natural primary key is automatically getting indexed. And whenever you are going to fire some query, so accordingly it will scan the entire database, and accordingly it will give you back with the matching results. So a MongoDB query that requests for documents with more than 10 comments will be looking like this. So this is the table name. That means this is the collection. This collection dot find is the method, and you have to provide the criteria. In that criteria, you are saying that one field is there, comments count. So this is the field, and you are supplying with that query. What is that query? Where this comments count is greater than, having the value greater than 10. So this is nothing but the greater than symbol. So comments count is more than 10. So those documents are going to be fetched into the result set. So if a comment count index was defined, then MongoDB would only have to check with the documents which have comment count larger than 10 before retrieving these documents. So you can put up the indexing on any field as per your requirements. It is not limited to the primary key, which is underscore underscore ID. That is the object ID. Then MongoDB replica set. To provide the data redundancy and improved availability, MongoDB uses an architecture called as replica set. Okay, so thereby we are actually providing the redundancy also. Redundancy means duplication. So what is the importance of having duplication means whenever there is any failover, so the same information can be looked up or can be retrieved from somewhere else. So that's why we have to keep up with the additional like similar kind of databases, and thereby we are providing the reliability, and you are providing the best availability of your database. You are providing the just like the quality of your database also. So in that way, we have the replica sets, which are a major feature for the MongoDB. A replica set is nothing but a DB set of MongoDB services that host the same data set. Okay, so different database services can be set up across the distributed environment. So they are actually nothing but hosting the same kind of data set. So they will become the replicas. One service is used as a primary, and the other services are called as secondaries. Okay, so all of the set instances support the read operations, but only the primary instance is in charge of the write operations. So in that way, we are ensuring the some kind of ACID features, because we are not writing every time into the slaves also. So these are nothing but the slaves actually. The secondaries we are not writing directly, but through the master server, we are going to pump in the data into the secondaries, and only the master server is able to write the operations on the database. So in that way, we are maintaining the uniformity, we are maintaining the like replication also, and we are actually having good, reliable, available database for our database requirements. Then when we are writing an operation occur on this primary partition, it will inform the secondaries about the changes and make sure they have applied to the dataset. So automatically, the masters are going to direct the secondaries accordingly. The latest data changes are going to be applied on the secondary data sets. So in that way, the uniformity is actually maintained. So MongoDB replica set will be looking in this way. So read and write operations are actually performed on the primary only, but whatever the major changes in terms of the write and write operations, they are going to be communicated through the primary to the secondary. So in that way, we can have the replica set implemented. So how it actually operates? This MongoDB replica set is actually allowing the automatic failover. When one of the set members cannot reach the primary instance, suppose something has happened with this primary, so for more than 10 seconds, the replica set will automatically elect this one. Okay, so this will become the primary, and accordingly it will be promoting a secondary instance as the new primary. Okay, so automatically the roles are getting changed here, and when this particular old primary is actually came back, the older one means this primary is coming back to life. It will rejoin the replica set as a secondary instance. Okay, so now this becomes the secondary. This is seen as a primary till this is not again failing. So in that way, one or more databases are anytime available. So either they are acting as the primaries or the secondaries, and whenever there is any failover for more than 10 seconds, the secondary will become as the primary instance of the MongoDB database. Then MongoDB sharding. Scaling is a common problem with the growing web application. Various approaches to solve this issue can be divided into two groups. One is vertical scaling and the second one is horizontal scaling. So this is vertical scaling and this one is horizontal scaling. Vertical scaling is easier and consists of increasing single machine resources such as RAM and CPU. You have removed the older RAM having some 8 GB and replaced that with some 16 GB RAM or some 32 GB RAM. So in that way, you can scale up the resources, hardware resources vertically. Otherwise, you are boosting up with the CPU power. Earlier, it was some 2.5 gigabit processor. Now you have incremented maybe some 3 point something. So in that way, you can increase the hardware capacity of your MongoDB server. But what happens is naturally they are much expensive. Okay, and they can support up to some certain extent only. It is not like that you can put up with some 3 TB of RAM. So it is simply impossible. 3 TB of RAM may not be available as per the current industrial standards, or that 3 TB of RAM is not at all compatible with the motherboard. So in that way, it is having some limitations. Okay, so vertical scaling is not at all possible every time. But whereas Horizontal scaling means the resources are same, the machines are lower end only, but you are actually joining them so that you are working in this way. All these are connected like a distributed environment. So thereby we are getting this feature of horizontal scaling. So what is the advantage of this horizontal scaling is horizontal scaling is sim- is a simplified approach having the same performance which is given by the vertical scaling, and this is this can be achieved by using normal PCs connected together. So even Google does this. Okay, so all the Google servers are not a single server. They are actually the grids which are connected in this way. So all these are nothing but grids. All these grids are connected to provide as a major server. So in that way, the horizontal scaling is done easily without any expenses much on the pockets. So then horizontal scaling is more complicated and is done using several machines. Each machine will handle a part of the load, providing better overall performance. The problem with horizontal scaling is how to properly divide the data between different machines. So what is the difficult task in this is you have to first of all judge what should be the data so that you can accordingly spread out between different servers. And accordingly, they are going to be maintained the read and write operations in that way only. So you have to ensure that before going to for this sharding feature. So this is called as sharding. Okay, so this is nothing but your horizontal scaling. So MongoDB supports horizontal scaling, which is called as sharding. And this process of splitting the data between different machines, or they are nothing but the shards. So shards are nothing but some partitions. So these partitions are actually having the data which is distributed across different servers. So each shard holds a portion of the data and functions as a separate database in itself. Okay, so each partition is actually working like a separate database, and all these separate databases coming together to form a logical single database. So sharding is a very good feature in the MongoDB. So thereby we are getting the scalability of this MongoDB also. So these are the key features of the MongoDB.